moving on with betrayals at work. Have you ever been betrayed at work by one of your associates, employees, colleagues, managers?
Peer, somebody you trusted and you didn't expect them to come at you that way?
I sure have. Dang, I've been getting betrayed left and right.
Right, but look at that. You've been steered in different directions.
Yes, I have.
God protected you.
Yes, he's been very, very good to me. So I'll share one of many. So one time there was an email I used to, that manager was very different. During that time, I actually didn't really like going to work, but that's beyond the point. Everybody he had a certain brand already, and I remember
He was lazy.
we used to send emails like market wide, and I had sent an email like praising him, right? And then one of my peers replied all saying like, yeah, right, this and that, something very sarcastic, but sent it to all. And so of course everybody was like, oh my gosh, whatever. I don't know how, but somehow he switched it up, and it was like my name that was dragged. But if you looked at the email, I was the one that was sending praise. And I don't know if it was like, I don't think it was like an audit, but it was something, maybe numbers. Obviously everything was numbers driven.
Something that had like other managers, district
Yes,
level
like,
type of-
and it had to do with our branch. So of course I was giving him praise, regardless of how I felt. Like that was still my boss. And so I replied, and he somehow dragged my name through the dirt. Where now, when we had gotten a new district manager, that district manager didn't like me and didn't even know me. And so I was very hurt because I had started off as a teller when he was banker. So I had worked with him before as peers in the banking center, and then now he was a manager. I think he was a manager now or something. And then I was trying to be a manager. So it was just such a blow. But it was like, you don't have to tell me more than once where I stand. Like, I will take it, and I know how to take an L and move on. So I was like upset, but I was like, okay, I know where I stand, cool, I'll keep my distance, whatever. But it was just kind of sad to see how much like people that didn't even know me were like, oh, that's the one that she kind of gives trouble, or she kind of this or that. And so I'll never know till this day like what exactly was said to that, but I know that it followed me even when I moved to a different market, and even when I moved to a different company. So it's funny because now I work with one of the district managers in the same company, but we don't work like hand in hand or anything like that. It's just funny how the world twirls.
I have a work one also. It wasn't like major, but it really helped me keep my eyes open just for kind of anybody. So there was a peer, and we weren't competing for the same promotion. This was more before like manager and all that. So I was a banker, and we had a manager that would say, oh, well, if you work like this and you do this, you'll be next in line. But he was telling everybody that. But then I can see that this other person, he was a guy, he'd come and be cool with me. What are you doing? How's it going? Kind of to see where I was at. And then next thing you know, he'd be like, oh yeah, no, it's your turn. Like, you go first, you work harder, it's for you. And next thing you know, out of nowhere, he pulls out the rug and he's like the next in line. And I'm like, how did that happen? He took all my ideas and everything. And I did not expect it from him because he was such a sweet little guy.
Because sometimes people reach like a point where they're like, it's me or them, and they will choose them.
Yeah.
So I think that sometimes they are genuine, but when it comes to like that greediness, it takes over, and that's where obviously they lack character if that's the case. But I don't think like some people, when they do things, they do it intentionally, but it's more to save their ass.
Yeah.
I don't think that person that burned my name purposely did that, but I do think they were like, it's my ass or hers, I'm gonna pin it on her. And so again, lack of character. And even then, like, I never was like, why did you do that? Nope. But whenever I was around, I'm like, oh yeah, I know. And of course that makes them uncomfortable. Because I know, and I don't have to say anything. I don't have to try to prove anything. Like, you're gonna sit in that.
Yeah.
And I know that's gonna be uncomfortable for you.
Sit
and
in
let
it,
it
roll
be.
in it.
Please do. You know, and it's just a part of life, but I am very, and I guess that's what makes me extra super grateful for like the good, genuine people, the solid ones in my life. And I'm very, again, if I'm like for you, I'm 100% for you. I'm not like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And I don't even have to be that close to you, but if I like you, I don't let people talk about you in front of me. Like, that's just one thing I will not allow. And that's happened at work, where people, and I'm like, hey, not in front of me, because that's my friend, or like, just
same thing.
Not.
Same thing.
I'm not cool with it. I'm not down with it. At work, I've had peers that I'm not close to, or maybe I don't agree with their leadership style. But if associates start to say anything, I'm like, hey, those are my peers. We're not going to do that, and especially not in front of me. And I
well, actually, even the manager you're talking about that now works for the company you work for, I remember she had asked to see like when the whole situation about you happened. And people were like, "Oh, well, is that your friend?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's actually my best friend. So please don't speak about her." When she did a visit, so she like got caught off guard, like she knew.
She wasn't expecting that. Yeah.
And so I remember saying that I knew it's something you would do too, but it was also like people will sometimes not stand up for their people.
A lot of times.
For the fear of, oh my gosh, you're not gonna like me, or they're gonna hold it against me. But the right thing to do was say like, no, we're friends, like, so please don't speak about them in my presence.
Right, exactly. Oh, I appreciate that, friend. But yes, I agree, and it goes back to that where someone feels like me or them, like go for it, you know. And
but I think that's something that I learned later on, because I always struggled with that, like being really nice and being like, okay, like kind of passive, not being greedy, not wanting to like overtake people. But that showed me that when that situation happened with that guy, later on, the right people that saw my talents and my skills, I actually made it even further than him.
Right, yeah.
Because of, you know, I was patient, I put in the work, and maybe that wasn't meant for me. And so sometimes things will always align and work out, and you're just getting steered into what's meant for you. And sometimes you need to learn a lesson from that person, and not to make people feel that way.
And also, like, the truth always comes out. So if you weren't working as hard, or you weren't as creative, or you didn't have like whatever he was taking, or you know, it was at some point going to show.
Yeah. And
it did. So in most cases, it does happen. Just like I know in the end, the other person, they burned themselves. At the end, it was like nobody liked that person. Nobody thought highly of them. Nobody anything. And it was like, I did nothing. You proved to everyone yourself, who you were, how you worked or didn't work, and
they bit you in the butt.
I had to do nothing. Just move on, do my own thing, my own life, whatever, you know.
And then get to come back and watch front row seat.
Yeah, right. So it is crazy how things happen, but I think, like you said, as long as we continue, and we don't have to, you will never have a regret of being a good person. Maybe not standing up for yourself, but that's a little different. But you know, sometimes I do think like, dang, somebody's trying to break my character, or like this or that. And I'm very vocal, which I've always been. I've had to actually tone it down, my approach, but I am very like, I will say what I think, and especially at work, I feel like I don't get intimidated.
Only at work?
No, especially at work. Only because I feel that sometimes titles, to some people, like, carry a lot of weight, where I feel like anything that you know, I can learn. Just give me time, give me the resources, I can figure it out, and I can get there. Don't try to just belittle me. Yes. And you were in my shoes. At one point, you didn't know what you're doing either. So I really do appreciate like those who have bigger titles, and they're so humble and don't feel superior to others, because I think like they like to intimidate others with their title. And that's one thing, like, you're not going to push me around. You're not going to try to make me feel any type of way, or try to belittle me, or make me feel incapable, because I very well am, and I'm going to let you know, like, no, this is not okay. And so I know obviously sometimes that rubs people the wrong way, so I have really worked on my approach. And like I said, in my personal life, sometimes I don't have to say certain things, which I've worked on. shout out to my 15-year-old who's like, Mom, like that wasn't necessary, you know. But yeah.
I think it's always the approach. Like you can stand up and say things, but it's how you say it. You can still be firm. I mean, you can still be vocal and say things, but it's how you say it, so it doesn't come across like you are being mean or disrespectful. So I don't think there's a problem with that. But sometimes if we lose that about us and we just start like accepting what people are going to be giving us, so don't lose that. It's it's just how you say it.
Yes, and like for example, I had one. I'm friends with her now, but we just did not get along at first at work, and I didn't really understand like the rules, I guess. So I remember she was like saying something, and we had walkies, and it was super. She was so loud when she talked on them. And then I remember she said something, and I would turn my walkie off because I'm like, I don't hear it. And she said something. I was like, well, no, because you're like spitting in the walkie and this and that. And then all of a sudden, my boss called me into the office, and then she was like, hey, like I'm trying to understand like what's happening. Like she said you said this there. I was like, because she's acting like she's my boss, and she's like, she's your boss. I was like, she is. I don't remember her hiring me, but again, I didn't really understand like how the rules worked, and then I was like, oh, okay, like my bad. But I remember that I was like, well, she doesn't act professional like a manager, and like looking back, I didn't have to say those things. Yeah. I didn't have to.
They were
and also,
mean.
Yes, it was. I didn't know she was my boss because I've never acted like that with someone who was my direct boss. But had I known, I definitely wouldn't have done that. Also, one time I remember that there was this girl, and she was a bit of a bully at work to whoever she could, because she used to be like have favoritism with a different manager prior to me getting there. And I had taken well, now where I work, you have a code to print out whatever your specified docs. Before, everyone's stuff would print out. So sometimes you would grab your stack of papers and it would be like mingled with other people's documents. And I remember she came up to my desk while I had customers, and she's like, don't ever take my papers and this and that. And I was so mad. And then my customers were like, she's so rude. I'm like, yeah, I know. Well, when my customers left, I walked up to her desk and I was like, you don't ever talk to me like that in front of people. Anyone. You don't talk to me like that. My assistant manager went and told my manager. I slammed the chair into the desk, and I'm like, did I though? I don't remember that part. I don't know. Like till this day, I'm like, I don't know if I did or not. But she also, my assistant manager, liked to add a lot of like salsa to her tacos. So I'm like, can I trust that source? I don't know, because I really was upset. I do remember like feeling really upset. I don't know if I did that, but I got called into the office
again.
They were like, you can't do that. Like it was like you threatened her. I was like, I wasn't gonna fight her. Like I'm just like, no, you're rude. You were rude to me, and you were rude to me in front of customers. Like I didn't grab your papers on work, although after that I did grab her papers on purpose, because I would just leave them in the back. I'm like, oh yeah, they're back there. But I was like, no, like don't be rude.
She could have approached it a different way too.
Yes, for sure. And also, if she would have been like, hey, did you take my papers? And then I realized, I would be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. So she would have seen I didn't do it on purpose. I think now I have a little bit more patience for, you know, certain behavior like that, because I'm like, you're unprofessional. Like, if you're this age, some ages, I'm like, if you're this age and you don't know it now, like you ain't gonna know it. You know?
Or they just, I think it's entitlement too. They just feel entitled that everything revolves around them. Like, don't ever touch my papers.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, who are you? We all share this printer. Like, relax.
Yeah. Yeah. But I would say, like you said, I mean, I've never stepped on anyone, and God has been so good to me and my family and my career. And I didn't have to do that. I don't have to go back and be like, man, I wish I didn't do that to this person, or Dad, I wish I didn't say this about that person. And so I am very at peace with that. And again, anyone who's ever said anything about me or anything like that, I feel like in the end, you know, you were able to see who they were. So.
Yeah.